TEDxers, please welcome Lou Hood. Oh, my bad.
I think it's always been supported by those that came before us. Standing on the shoulder of giants is how Sir Isaac Newton was known to have referred to it. We have a 2.0 precisely because there was a 1.0. And in technology, nowhere else but in technology do we see innovation, feeding innovation, building upon innovation. And we can feel that, I think, intuitively in the pace of change that we feel in modern society. To understand where we might go, what the opportunities are and what's achievable, I think it's helpful to look back on where we've come from. And just for fun, I thought we'd go all the way back and do that on the mother of all timelines. This dot is a borrowed dot. I borrowed it from Carl Sagan. What it represents actually is something infinitely smaller called the singularity. And that's, oh, we seem to have. It represents something called the singularity, and that's the nothingness from which everything emerged in the Big Bang. So Carl Sagan was thinking, what if we took the entire history of the universe from the Big Bang until modern times and plotted it on a 365-day calendar? What would it look like if we put the start of our year as the Big Bang and looked at the entire history of our universe? And what would it show us, importantly, about the pace of change? It took us 5 months for the Milky Way to begin to be born, to form. Another 3 months before our solar system was born. Clearly, we build universes slowly. It took till November for multicellular life to form. And it was December 25th, Christmas Day, before the dinosaurs walked the earth. Another day until the mammals joined them, and only a few days until the dinosaurs reached their extinction. And then finally, on the last day of our cosmic calendar year, the Homo sapiens had their day. They took their time about it. It took till about the last 60 seconds of the year and the need to cultivate food for us to become agricultural and to establish permanent settlements. And that's about 20 years left in our cosmic calendar, by the way. By about 6 seconds, 20 seconds left. By about 6 seconds, civilizations had developed to the degree of the Roman Republic. And in the last 5 seconds of our cosmic calendar, the Old Testament, Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad, the prophets of the religions, about 60% of the people on this planet were born. And it wasn't until the last second of the last day of our cosmic calendar that Columbus arrived in the New World. So in this last second of the year, I'm focusing a little bit on the communications that I think really catapulted us and that formed the foundation of the technologies that we enjoy so much today. Starting with the Morse code being invented in 1837. About 100 years ago, we had our first long-distance telephone call. That was between New York and San Francisco with Alexander Graham Bell and his assistant, Watson. The first television broadcast in 1939. Undoubtedly, technology interrupted or at least diverted by the war effort for a number of years after that. But by 1971, a major innovation, and this is the invention of the first microprocessor by Intel. A year later, I put this slide up. This one is called the Blue Marble. This was not the first time astronauts had seen the Earth from outer space. You'd seen some pictures of the Earthrise that had happened a number of years before, but this is the first time we got to see it fully illuminated. And this shot exists on the basis of all of the technologies and innovations that supported it. So you can imagine the millions of brilliant minds that had to send us into space to be able to generate this photograph and send it back. And this was the most widely circulated photograph ever. When it came back, this was our first look at ourselves, and it dazzled. Speaking of standing on the shoulders of giants, in 1977, at the age of 22, Steve Jobs gave the world the first practical personal computer. And by 1983, after 10 years of hard work and collaboration, the internet was finally rolled out. And we're talking a handful of universities and research centers that connected their network to make the earliest internet. And by 1990, Tim Berners-Lee at CERN in Switzerland wrote something called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That's the HTTP you see in front of every World Wide Web address. And that was the transformation. That was the innovation that tipped us over the edge in terms of connecting everybody, bringing them all into the digital age. So anybody born after 1990, so 22 years of age, is a digital native. They've grown up in this entirely interconnected world of the World Wide Web. This is a graph you may have seen called Moore's Law. It's a rule of thumb that's used to describe computer hardware and the progress in the performance of computer hardware. Essentially what it says is that technology, by building upon itself, doubles in performance every 2 years. Now, that was developed a number of years ago to explain transistors and integrated circuits, but Ray Kurzweil has since demonstrated that we can apply this to every technology. The long and the short of it is that what we have to look forward to is more and more innovation given to us in shorter and shorter time intervals. So as the World Wide Web also evolved, we got Web 2.0. Now this is the democratization of the internet, the participatory internet, where we become content creators and critics and participate as opposed to just lending our eyeballs to content that's delivered to us on the internet. So how will education transform in the 2.0 world? In a world that democratizes content and information, how will education be transformed in that democratization? But one thing we do know for sure, that you're going to have to be literate, you'll need to be able to read to be able to participate in this online community. So quite frankly, in the developing world, the education development that we're still doing really still is 1.0. It's bricks and mortar. In the year 2000, 164 countries got together and committed to universal primary education. Now last year, the United Nations put out a progress report, and unfortunately what they established is that to date there's been insufficient progress to meet this Millennium Development Goal by 2015. So we will not be in a position at this current rate of progress to say we've gotten all children in school by 2015. What's needed still in education development is the bricks and mortar, the books, the libraries, the teacher training, all of the infrastructure that makes a sustainable education system. But slowly we're ready to grow into education development 2.0 as the infrastructure allows. Projects like One Laptop Per Child are starting to connect children in the developing world to the internet. Right now, with population at 7 billion, there's about 2.25 billion people who are online. In the next, by the end of this decade, we're going to have 3 billion more people joining us online, most of these coming from the developing world. Right now, today, 2 out of every 3 people in the developing world have cell phones. And as those cell phones turn into smartphones, we're going to see more and more voices added to that global community online. And what we're doing by bringing access to a world of information to people in the developing world, we're democratizing knowledge. The Web 3.0 technologies like cloud computing and 3D printing, what they're going to do is fully democratize the production of goods. Somebody in Africa with access to a smartphone could download a design from the cloud and use the resin and the 3D printer to produce a park bench that's indistinguishable from one that was produced for Central Park in New York. But what's clear, again, in order to be able, for people to be able to achieve what's possible for them, both today and tomorrow in this evolving world, is that they need to have been able to decode the most fundamental of codes. They have to learn how to read. So my family and friends and I founded a small charity called We Press a number of years ago, and we're focused on education for all in sub-Saharan Africa. Our globally themed children's books are published completely royalty-free. Everybody volunteers their time and talents to the production of the books so that we can direct maximum proceeds to education and literacy projects in Africa. We built this business model around a cause, and we call that a social enterprise. We're selling books here to be able to share books there, which has a kind of organic feel to it. Our first book, Around the World in the Blink of an Eye, subtitled A Truly Global Picture Book, truly is a global picture book. It's illustrated by 24 wonderful artists, one from each time zone, as we make our way around the world, literally in the blink of an eye. And these are artists that could not have been reached in some of the remotest regions of the world before the technology that was there to support the creation of a project like this. With this little idea for a picture book, we've built a conversation starter for families and teachers who want to encourage global-mindedness. And what we've also done is provide young readers with an opportunity to engage in the Education for All issue. With the simple act of the purchase of a book, they're supporting Education for All. And in turn, what we do is at We Press, we don't engage on the program level. We have a program partner, in this case Code, who do the development work in Africa. So these kids are digital natives, and we call them Generation We. They're kids that have always felt connected with the rest of the world, mostly through the World Wide Web. And they've also always grown up with the expectation of experiencing the world around them. They want an immersive experience. They want the audio and the video, and to be really engaged to make the experiences real. For the digital native here in Canada, Education 2.0 is participatory. So you can ask Ray Zahab, his experiential learning. He knows, and as do the teachers who work with him, that nothing teaches better than experience. You'll meet Ray a little later today from the middle of his Andes expedition, and I think you'll be blown away by the things that he's done working with youth and raising awareness for issues. By performing what Guinness Book of World Records breaking impossible feats, like in this instance, his shortest unsupported, unassisted trek to the South Pole. Ray's always done two things, two important things. First, he's always made it about the issue and not about himself. So wherever he is and whatever he's doing, the issue becomes the focal point: water, food, world health, education, and he supports teachers fully with the curriculum. And he's always engaged youth in his expeditions. We want youth to feel passionate about a cause, and frankly, any cause would be fine. We think education is a game changer. We'd love to have them interested in what we're doing. But we think kids in Generation We are looking for opportunities to engage in social issues, but often they don't know how. So what we've done with I Click, You Read, it's strictly a Facebook presence, and it's a forum for discussion, conversation, and sharing about the progress we're making towards Education for All. And a lot of this, the discussion is going to center around an expedition that we're putting together, We Press, in partnership with Impossible to Possible, that'll be going to Africa at the end of this year. So now, Ray is not only a great teacher and mentor, but what he does by bringing youth ambassadors along is he makes them the teachers and mentors for the upwards of 20,000 kids who will connect with them virtually from their auditoriums and classrooms around the world. And together they'll learn in the sun and the dust of rural Africa about some of the challenges of meeting the world's promise for universal primary education. All proceeds from our second book, Heart's Halo, will fund this expedition. So by buying the book or engaging with us on Facebook with a like or a click or a share, youth are expressing their interest and their intent to get behind Education for All. The book, strangely, is a little bit like the expedition that it funds. It's about an expedition into space, not to Africa, but the 13-year-old protagonist, who gets one of the spots in a global lottery to join this expedition, fundamentally represents the sort of his country in this microcosm that is the spaceship or space station. And in the same way that these international crew of kids represent their countries and their cultures, so too do the youth ambassadors on Ray's expeditions represent the kids back home. It is a book about making impossible things possible, like the world's first orbiting international space colony. Heart's Halo is the brainchild of Dr. Oliver Hart, and he's an eccentric technology billionaire who has no personal boundaries on what is impossible. And it's steeped in technology, the kind of technology that connects kids together. It's set in 2033, so the technology, as you can imagine, while near future and relatable, is that next stage of technology that we'll be experiencing, certainly kids will be experiencing in their lifetimes. And our past is what gives me tremendous confidence in our future, that we have so many giant shoulders to stand on. So I so believe in standing on shoulders of giants that I open the book with words also from Carl Sagan, which begin Journey to Heart's Halo. And this brings us back full circle to a dot. In 1990, Dr. Sagan asked NASA to have Voyager 1, which was out on a deep space mission to the outer reaches of our solar system. He asked to have Voyager turn around and take a picture of Earth from deepest space. And what Voyager sent back was less than 1/10 of a pixel in size, a tiny, pale blue dot. And this is what Carl Sagan wrote about it. That dot, that's here, that's home, that's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended on a sunbeam. Thank you.